Hi, my name is Jill. I'm a recipe writer, tester, and stylist for the New York Times Magazine, and I do all my cooking in my tiny New York City kitchen. In this week's New York Times Magazine, Sam Sifton writes about making pizza at home. There are a few good reasons for making pizza at home. 1, it's delicious. 2, it's easy. And 3, it's affordable. Sam introduces us to 3 different recipes, and I liked most the gorgonzola fig and blue cheese with bacon. So that's what we're going to make today. So there are only 6 ingredients in this pizza dough. Bread flour, kosher salt, this is diamond crystal, all-purpose flour, cold water, olive oil, and dry active dry yeast. Let's measure the flour. We're going to mix it in the bowl of a standing mixer, 1.5 cups of each one. It's really important when you're measuring out flour to take a fork and fluff the flour like this. You have to fluff it. Scoop and level. Yeah. So now we're going to do the bread flour, same thing, scoop and level. And then you're going to use your active, whisk, it's all ready to go. This is Fleischmann's active dry yeast. 3/4 of a teaspoon. 2.5 teaspoons kosher salt. And I use diamond crystal. And that's what this recipe was developed with, the diamond crystal. Now, you have to whisk it. You actually do need a whisk. Before we add the liquids, we're going to get out our standing mixer. And we're going to add our cold water and 3 tablespoons of olive oil and start stirring. Immediately starts activating. Yeast is incredible. It's alive. Now we're going to set it on the KitchenAid mixer. And we're going to turn it on low for about 1 minute. And after a minute, you're going to turn it up to high speed, 4 to 6 minutes or so. This is a good time to talk politics with your dad. That was fun. Then put down a lot of flour on the surface here. I love this dough, it's so elasticy. Work the dough out with your hands, floured hands. So you're on this floured surface here. The bottom is all floured, and now you're just gonna flip it over itself like this and let it rest for 10 minutes. If you don't have a standing mixer at home, the other thing you could do is you can knead it by hand. It's actually really fun to feel in your hands how the dough is changing. It's done. All right, now we're gonna cut it in half, shape it into a ball, and we're gonna let it rise. We're gonna put it on a plate with some olive oil so it doesn't stick. You're gonna lay that down. So about 3 hours later, we're gonna come back and your dough is pretty much ready. 3 hours later, our dough looks very big. Plop it out, degas it. We're gonna reshape it. Might wanna just flour your hands a little, and we get a nice little rounded dough. Plop it in here, seal it, and put it in the refrigerator. You can keep it in the fridge for about 4 to 6 days. It should be fine. So now we need to preheat the oven and preheat our stone. My oven goes up to 550 degrees, which is hot, but ideally it would be hotter, like 900 degrees. Here is my very dirty pizza stone. It nicely browns the pizza on the bottom and distributes the heat evenly so that even the top gets nicely cooked. So now we're going to make our toppings. We're going to caramelize the onions. 1 yellow onion here, cut it in half, remove the peel, not too thin, not too thick either. 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 teaspoons of thyme leaves. Get all the little leaves off. And we have 2 bay leaves. We're gonna start by turning the stove onto high heat and melt the butter. Caramelizing onions does take a little bit of time, but it's really quite easy. We're gonna add all of this to the pan. 5 minutes over high heat. I like to add a little salt right away. The other parts of the topping are right here. We've got 12 black mission figs, 4 pieces of thick bacon, and we're going to chop them into about 1/4 inch pieces. Medium skillet. We're going to cook the bacon over high heat, and you don't need any oil or anything because the bacon has so much fat in it that it's going to render out immediately. And meanwhile, we're trimming these figs. 3/4 a cup of gorgonzola. Gorgonzola is Italian blue cheese, and crumble it, kind of messy and fun. Fine. That is our onions. Our onions are pretty much caramelized. Taste the onion and season it. Taste and season. I forgot to take out the bay leaf. It's not edible. Okay, these are just about done. Okay, that's done. So there are our 4 toppings. Now it's time to roll out our pizza. I'm gonna grab that dough, still puffing away like a big pillow. Get our flour. Flour, where are you? How about we just rip the bag? Ta-da! Beautiful. Flour the surface, flour the top a little, flour your hands, flour everything. And also, don't worry about it being so perfect looking. Pizza doesn't have to be perfectly round. You can roll it like this, or you can do as Mark Iacono at Lucale's does. You can use a wine bottle. He said he picked it up one day and he just started using it. I would take off the label, but kind of nice. You can also do a little pizza spinning, and it is really stretching out. It stays stretched, and that's why so many artisan bakers like using bread flour. So now we're going to transfer this to a peel. It helps you move the pizza into the oven and then back out. Lightly flour it. Take your pizza and lay it on the peel. I'm making this look really difficult, aren't I? Now when you add the toppings, you have to add them very lightly. I'm actually going to do this with my hands because if it goes over the side, that's when you run into trouble. Figs next. You don't have to use them all. And then the bacon. And then the gorgonzola. I'm going to use a little less than this. It's a lot. This stuff is messy. Now you need to shake it again to make sure it's going to come off without sticking to the peel. It's stuck. Great. And Mark Iacono told me to blow flour under it. Let's try this again. If it sticks, it won't come off the peel, and it won't go onto the stone. It can't stick. It's moving enough. We're gonna get it off. All right, quick. I'll put it in onto the stone. Here we go. Yes, came right off. 7 minutes. Oh, I'm supposed to start the timer, right? So our pizza's ready. Here we go. Drizzle it with some olive oil and a little pepper. There is your pizza. And as Chris Bianco from Pizza Bianco in Arizona said, treat it like a relationship. You're in a relationship with it. You're never gonna master it. It's gonna change every day. And then he said to go out and conquer the world. That's what you should do. Don't expect to master it and go out and conquer the world after. This is the just